Hello, namaskar and adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel, Astro Assurance. One thing a lot of people reach out to me during the analysis is the question of their longevity, or how long will they live, or in simple terms, when will they die. Now, this question is a very tricky question even for the most renowned of astrologers. The reason being is one, while there have been some signs which have been given, some placements which have been mentioned about death and when death can happen, these are not sacrosanct, meaning that not always will we find that these signs do come true in the horoscope. So, and the other thing is that in spite of some placements mentioned in the shlokas, whether it is Brihat Parashar Ahura Shastra or the Jataka Chandrika or the Samhitas, various Samhitas, Shiv Samhita, Ravan Samhita. So whatever Samhitas you are talking about, while some placements have been given, it is seen that they always don't come true. And in spite of, and most of the astrologers' predictions may also go wrong, especially related to death. And even those who are good at predictions sometimes are wary of giving astrological predictions about death. One, because no one is for sure, and there is a reason also why no one is for sure, because Srishti or the supreme energy itself doesn't want to give exact time of death and make it so easy, because then there are various complications in life which come about. The other thing is that even when sometimes those secrets are given to astrologers are wary of talking openly about them. So for example, I as an astrologer may see some signs that somebody's life comes under very high severity. Now that's the maximum astrologers can come to know, that life can undergo or come under very high severity during a certain period. And when that is seen, generally it is seen some health concern, sometimes very serious health concerns may come around that period of time. However, will it absolutely lead to death? We don't know, and it may not happen. Severity of death may also come about not because somebody is unhealthy, but sometimes the circumstances in which the person is may also bring about severity on life, rather than severity of death, severity on life, which means that the person may come under high severity due to near accident, and the accident could have been very, very severe, but by a whisker somebody misses it. For example, by a whisker you miss coming under a train or a bus. By a whisker you find you escape getting on a plane because you are a little late. So we hear of these stories where people talk about, I would have been on the plane, I would have been on the train, I would have been traveling to that place, and I escaped that because last minute change of plans. So the severity does come. So the period of dasha and the antardasha and the placements and the transit will surely point towards severity on the life of the person, or the life coming under duress, huge duress. But whether the death will actually happen, nobody can say with absolute certainty, and not even say that very high percentage of chance that somebody may die during that period. For other events in life, there can be very high percentage of chance that you may get married during this time, or you may go abroad, you may find a job. Still, to a large extent, astrologers may be able to say that. But about death, you can't be very, very sure. But first, let's understand and discuss a little bit about death. Why are we so fearful of death? Especially if we do believe in life after death, then why are we so scared? Why do we want to live long and long and long? And the moment that somebody's death is mentioned, we get very fearful. So the problem is that if you become too materialistic and you want to live long because you want to continue to enjoy materialistic things that the life throws at us, then we are more attached to life. But if you have led a life of service and of dedication and of spirituality, then we won't hesitate so much, though we will still be fearful. We won't, happily want to to die. Yet we will not be as fearful of death as anybody else could be, because we understand that this is a cycle. And the other is, even if this cycle is going to come to an end, there is some truth after this that we will be facing. Some existence in some form we will be facing. Or if there is no existence at all and we don't even have consciousness, then why are we so scared of death? So firstly, my suggestion to everyone is that don't fear death so much. It is so that which will come to all of us. But that doesn't mean have a death wish. But indulge your life in service, in helping others, helping humanity. Make use of the time that is given to you. If time is limited, and as we have been told in various of a religious texts, that your time of death is more or less defined. It is just that nobody knows about it. So more or less, when you know that the time is limited, why not put it to better use rather than pleasures of self and materialistic pursuits for self? Increase your reach. Continue to be in the path of materialism to an extent, because you like the good life, you want good things in life. That's not too bad. To think about oneself and wanting to have better quality of life is not bad. However, dedicate some part of it to service, to help others also, because that could mean that you are helping your next tenure, if I can say, on this earth, if you're sent here or wherever you are, because that will also let go or bring down your karmic debt and absolve you of lot of heavy stuff riding on your soul, the negative stuff that is riding on your soul, which you will then carry forward as your prabandha or the sanchita karma. So let go of some of this debt through better service. Now, while we are on the topic, I would like to give you some signs, some placements which generally are seen to bring about that, and these are more for educative purposes rather than giving you that this absolutely means that. The 12 bhavas have been described as follows: Tanu, Artha, Sahaj, Bandhava, Putra, Ari, Kalatra, Nidhana, Dharma, Kriya, Aya and Vigama. So, the first house has been described as the Tanu or Tan or body, and the 8th house has been described as the house of Nidhana or Ayu. The Horasara says, Randra Nidhana Prokto Chast Mara Shirvinasha Dukhancha. I translate, Randra Nidhana, death, Vinasha, destruction, and Dukha, grief, are the other identifications of the 8th house. Firstly, 5 houses are the main houses which are involved in life energy, and letting go of the life energy means death too. These are the Lagna, the 3rd house, the 7th house, 8th house and the 12th house. The Lagna itself means Lagna represents you, the physical you. So severe harm on you, the physical you, could bring about death. And Lagna represents your body, overall body, and your head also. So if you don't have a head, or there is severe injury to your brain or a brain hemorrhage, then obviously the life energy which is flowing in your body may come to cease. The other is the 3rd house. And why is the 3rd house the house of connected to life and death? 3rd house gives you the energy to live. The 3rd house is also been called as the house of effort and self-enterprise. So the more energy you have in life, the more you will be self-enterprising, putting the effort, have less laziness and more energy to do things. So the less and less the third house energy is or extremely weak, then the lessening of the life energy and the ultimately seizing of that energy also may come about. The other reason is also because the third house is the 8th house to the 8th house. If 8th house is the house of life, as is mentioned in the various shlokas, that 8th house is the Ayusthan. Ayu means the tenure of life. Then the 8th to the 8th is the opposite of that. If 8th house is the Ayusthan, then the third house becomes the opposite of that, which becomes the seasoning of life sthan also. So severity on the first house, the Lagna, can put your life under duress. The severity on the third house or the planet on the which lords the third house can bring about a severity on life. Then the 8th house has been called the Ayusthan. However, if there is a severe affliction of the 8th house, then the Ayusthan becomes less. That means the tenure of life becomes less. And because the 8th house is also the house of suddenness, upheavals, trauma, severe trauma of the 8th house can also bring about a sudden end, a severe end also, because of it being the Ayusthan. And what is the 12th house to any house? The 12th house to any house is the loss of that house or the wastage of that house. So the 12th house to the 8th house is the 7th house. Hence the 7th house becomes the loss of life's house, and that's why it's also severe Maraka Sthana. And then if 8th house is the house of life, what is the opposite house to that? The opposite house on the other side, on the same axis, is the 2nd house. And hence the 2nd house is also a strong Maraka Sthana, for example. And then last but not the least, the 12th house. The 12th house is the 12th to the Lagna itself. And hence being the 12th to the Lagna, the 12th house is also the house being where loss of life, loss of energy and moksha, letting go of life itself may come about. So severely the first house, the third house, the 7th house, 8th house and the 12th house, and to an extent the 2nd house is also a Maraka Sthana. So what are some of the placements which can give you challenges to life or severe duress to life? One thing has been seen that without the involvement of a malefic, generally severity to life is not seen. So if the dasha and the antardasha is not of a malefic but of a benefic, and good transits are happening over these houses, especially the Lagna and the 8th house, then very rarely does death come during that time, though it's no guarantee. However, if the dasha and antardasha is of a malefic and there are strong malefics going over the Lagna and the 8th house or the 12th house, so the more malefics are transiting over or aspecting the Lagna, the 3rd house, the 7th, 8th or 12th, the higher chance that life energy will cease to exist during that time. So the dasha of a malefic such as say a Ketu or the antardasha of a Shani or Saturn, while there is a transit of a malefic over the Lagna, say for example Rahu over the Lagna, then severity to life can be seen. And if the Lagna itself is very poor, the Lagna Lord is also not well placed in the horoscope, then the severity on the life is higher. Now the other thing to be seen is that it is not only the natural malefics which may turn out to be the Maraka grahas or planets. Even the functional malefics to certain ascendants can also bring severity to life. For example, for a Cancer ascendant native, Mercury and Venus both are Maraka planets or inimical planets. Mercury is the 12th lord to a Cancer ascendant native. So obviously there will be challenges which come about because of Mercury's affliction. And Mercury is also the 3rd lord to a Cancer ascendant native. So 12th lord as well as the 3rd lord. So it can be a strong Maraka if Mercury is severely inflicted. And both Venus and Mercury are inimical planets to Moon. So severity can also be seen by virtue of Mercury and Venus being ill-placed or under severe duress, being Maraka planets to Cancer. So similarly, you can see for all the other ascendants which are the planets which are ruling the 8th house, the 12th house or the 3rd house, and to an extent even the 7th house, under severe afflictions of these planets, and during the Dasha and Antardasha and the transit of these malefics over the Lagna or connected to any of the other 4 houses, severe duress to life can be seen. So simple rule should be, is the Dasha or the Antardasha of a malefic? Second, are there more malefics involved going over the Lagna and any of these 4 houses, which are the 3rd house, the 7th house, 8th house and the 12th house? Then the chances of life being under severity will go high and high as more and more malefics get into play. For example, if the Dasha and Antardasha is of the 12th Lord and the 8th Lord, and the 8th Lord is going over the Lagna, while another transit is also of a malefic such as a Ketu or a Rahu is also happening over the Lagna, under the aspect of another malefic on the 3rd house or the 8th house or even the 7th house, then severity of life can be very, very high. And so by which planet is getting involved, there could be challenges there. Rahu going over the Lagna could mean that the person's disease or his ailment is not easily understood or fathomed, and the doctors keep trying till the last moment. They try this medicine, that medicine, they think it is because of one reason or the other, but the person doesn't show signs of recuperating, and by the time the doctors come to know what is the actual disease, it's too late and the person doesn't survive the onslaught of those malefics. If it's Mars involved, then generally it is a severity to life and a sudden severity, where it could be a sudden trauma or fall or being hit with a bioweapon or an accident or a disease such as that of blood, because Mars is also the life energy and constitutes blood. So because of these reasons, because of Mars affliction, that can come about. The affliction of a Saturn could mean a long chronic ailment and ultimately life energy goes away from you. Saturn could also mean, because Saturn rules Capricorn, which is the 7th house to Lagna of Cancer. If Cancer denotes moon, which is the heart, then the opposite house to that is Capricorn. So Saturn also, its afflictions, strong afflictions, can bring about the ailments of the heart, a long chronic ailment, and then death happening because of that. However, if Saturn is afflicted with Rahu, then the heart ailment will either not be cured or will not be known till very late in life. So based on what planet is involved, the severity on the life and the reason can also go up less or more. The other is that the placement of or the aspect of the a Dusthana Lord on a malefic in their own house. So for example, if there is a malefic which is placed in the 8th house and the 8th Lord is aspecting it in the natal horoscope, then during the transit over the 8th house, severity to life can be seen. Same situation can also be seen if there is a malefic which is placed in the 12th house and the 12th Lord aspects it in the natal horoscope, and then there is a transit over it of a strong malefic, whereas the Dasha and Antardasha is at least of one malefic, then severity to life can also be seen during this period. The other placement is the placement of the Dasha and Antardasha of the 8th Lord itself. So if the Dasha of the 8th Lord is on, as well as the Antardasha of the 8th Lord is also on, and if the 8th Lord is a strong malefic, and if it's also under severe duress, then there could be a challenge of the death coming about during that time. For example, if Moon is the 8th Lord, which happens for a Sagittarius ascendant native, and if Moon Dasha and Antardasha is on, and if Moon is placed in the 12th house in debilitation, along with the aspect of or the transit of a planet over the natal position of the moon, that is through the 12th house, especially that of Ketu or Rahu or Saturn, then severity to life can be seen during this time. If the second lord gets energies from the 12th lord or shares energies, for example, the 12th lord going into the second house and vice versa, because the 12th lord is going into the second house, where second house is also the Maraka house, being the opposite house to the 8th house, and if there are severe afflictions of both the 12th house and the second house, or their lords aspecting the Lagna, or more malefics being involved in the Lagna, second house as well as the 12th house during a certain period of time, then severity of life to life can be seen. So friends, now that we have seen what could be the signs and the placements which demonstrate or showcase severity on life, please use this more as a educative thing rather than take it as something which is more guaranteed this may happen. And if you go back and look into the horoscopes of people who are deceased in your family, old people who in the last 6, 7, 10 years who have deceased, and if you have the accurate time of the horoscope and then you see at the time of their death what were the exact placements of the planets, you will be able to see that the connection of malefics is very, very strong on the Lagna, on the 3rd house, the 7th house, 8th house and the 12th house. So use it for that. Please don't use it to predict somebody's death or to assume that you will die when 2 or 3 malefics get involved in your Lagna, but use it to help you tide over the time. Take care of your health more and don't do too many adventurous things during that time, and don't take too many risks, so that you can save your life and your life energy. So friends, please like this video, please share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other video, some other time, this is your friend, astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.